Good evening, everybody. Finally got a decent reason to post an update video this time. So, what's going on at the moment? Well, I am approaching, or hopefully reaching the end of Final Fantasy XIV's post-Endwalker. Basically, after you complete the main story, for the next, I believe, 2 or so years, the devs finally released more continuation of the story after you complete the expansion, and I'm finally approaching near the end of it, and I will finally be doing Dawn Trail. Now, when it comes to the Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail expansion, it's gonna be like the previous expansions. I am not going to be doing them until I got all my jobs to level 100. Right now, I got most of them at level 92, 93 when it comes to DPS tanks and healers. But thankfully, I already did the crafting and gathering already, which I think was the most difficult one to do, not to mention cost in-game currency. So, for the next I don't know how long it's going to take, at least 2 or 3 weeks of duty roulette just to get those leveled up. And after that, we're finally going to be catching up to the MMO. It took me like what, I don't know, 2 years or so, roughly, just to catch up to where everybody is at. Final Fantasy 14 does have a lot of end game content that you can do just to kill time once you've done everything else. But honestly, like many people have told me, just focus on the main story itself, and that should hopefully keep you interested and you keep going through the rest of the game, which thankfully did, even though there were some problems. But at least it's not as disappointing as Cyberpunk was. Cyberpunk 2077 story, there should have been more, but I digress. Other than Final Fantasy XIV Online, there's Marvel Rivals. I can't see it right there. Yeah, Marvel Rivals right here. I have spent about 476 hours into this game so far. The only game that I actually care about both casually and competitively. To note, Final Fantasy XIV Online does have competitive as well, but it's not my main focus at all. In fact, most of it is PvE, which doesn't surprise anybody who's a big fan of that game. Now, when it comes to competitive in Marvel Rivals, took a fateful choice by completing my competitive goal of reaching Grandmaster 3 off screen. I attempted to do it on screen, but I feel like it's gonna go on for another week or two before I finally reach my goal. It's no different to any other game. I mean, the matchmaker, I don't think the matchmaker is ever truly gonna be perfect. It's going to have its problems. But at least the gameplay in that game is solid. People can argue, oh, this one X hero is not good. It's overpowered. He has his fair share of problems, which I cannot explain in detail at the moment, especially if they keep, nerfing or buffing certain heroes. But at least overall, it is a solid game for the time being. And I did manage to reach my Grandmaster 3 goal, but it took hours and hours and hours. I'm very confident with how I play the game as a sport player or a strategist. It just comes down to the rest of the team. If the team doesn't come together and play as a group, and if they can't get their shots in, well, there's really not much you can do, and it can cause some one-sided matches, which I've seen countless times if you are a regular of that game. And I did manage to achieve it, like I said, and I'm just taking it easy until the next season. You don't want to suffer burnout. And now that brings up to the final point that I just thought of now. I'm doing I'm doing all this talking without a script. Took a while to get comfortable like this, but it's still far from perfect. Anyway, other casual games or other bonus games that I'm going to get to eventually is Stellar Blade. It took me an hour and a half just to figure out if this game is going to be worth a playthrough or not. I think Stellar Blade might be a decent game to do a playthrough like I did with Nier and Automata. There's also Rainbow Six Siege X. I'm gonna be frank. I used to be a fan of this game, but now my interest has sunk even lower because they haven't added any stuff. They haven't added stuff to the game, which they should have added years ago. They're just very slow and catching up. But it is, at the very least, one of the more solid first-person shooters out there that you can at least be tactical. But you're still gonna have the problem with, the matchmaker and cheaters. I don't know how big the cheater problem is in this game in particular. Like, you're never gonna keep cheaters away for good, but at least the gameplay is solid. Although I would argue that at the moment Marvel Rivals is more fun. But I'm gonna keep Rainbow Six Siege in my Steam library for now. But I'm prepared to do something else, and if the worst case does happen, there's also besides Stellar Blade, and there's also Void Crew, which is a fun PvE game. But it's just like Sea of Thieves in a way. You need at least an hour or so to make any progress. Yeah, I haven't touched Sea of Thieves in a while. It's you have to be in a very specific mood. And even if there is PvP in this game, I don't see myself playing that every single moment. There are just too many other things I like to do. And the elephant in the room, which I want to point out, is VR chat or VR games in general. I still have my VR headset, the MetaQuest 3, on standby. Unfortunately, I have been in a huge hurry to do VR at all. Yeah, I know you gotta spend time on VR just as much as any other game, just to make connections, just like any other game. But so far, when it comes to VR, I'm not really crazy about it. Even if I did have the full setup, trackers and all that stuff, I don't feel like it's gonna change things too much. Honestly, just having the headset on my head is good enough for me, and the new strap did help quite a bit. Unfortunately, I haven't been in the mood to do any VR games or VR chain for that matter. It also doesn't help the fact that, well, let's just say the financial choices they decide to do with VR chain, the subscription and stuff like that, has been a bit off-putting. But other than that, eh, I'm trying my best here. I'm just trying to go through whatever mood I'm in. Obviously, if this show had a lot more financial subs or donations coming in, I would be a lot more flexible with my schedule if I was able to do this full time. But I'm just doing the best I can with the limitations that I have. I'm actually very fortunate to still be doing this. I'm just happy to be me, and not necessarily doing what is trending out there, because I'm just gonna be frank. If you are putting on an obnoxious personality, and being a bit too safe in some cases, people can tell. You cannot explain in words, that sort of a thing, but it's something that you get, and I try not to avoid that. Which means I'm probably not gonna get as many people interested in this little show of mine when it comes to lurkers or people that are just browsing through. But at least you're getting, you know, the raw personality from me, even if it's not going to be for everybody. Wow, I've been talking like this for a while, haven't I? Another final note. Oh boy, I just remember this now. For the first time, if you're not aware, I finally made a reaction video. It's not something that I'm a big fan of doing, but because of Dragon Age Veilguard and being used to being a fan of Dragon Age, I wanted to see how bad Dragon Age Veilguard's writing was, even out of context, and it was bad. It was off-putting to say the least. So if you wish to see that video, it's on my YouTube channel or TikTok page. Might as well put it in the description here as well. But it's not the worst, but it's bad. That's all I can say. Still glad to be here, doing this little show for the last 3, 4, 5 years. I'm personally in a state that I'm still fortunate to be doing this. And all these games here, most 95, 90, I think it's safe to say 99% of them weren't from me. I didn't pay for them. Most of them were gifted from 90998 and a couple of other people that I can't remember off the top of my head. So I'm very fortunate to have got most of these games gifted to me. So thank you. Easily would have cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, even if they were not on sale. So I'm very fortunate. So thank you again for your continued support, even if it may not be as big as the other channels. But I'm glad to have an audience, and I'm glad to have you. So let's continue.